Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Wiped Up Coach. Thank you for joining me again. I know that it's been a couple weeks since I've done a video, so sorry about that. Um, Now this is something that, hello. This is something that I have wanted to talk about for a little while now, and I see a lot of questions about, well, what makes men seek out certain type of women over other women, or I guess what is the benefit of being a more feminine woman compared to why can't I just be myself, or why can I have more masculine energy? So you can absolutely be um, whatever resonates with you the most. I will say that, as in anything in life, there is benefits to doing things a certain way compared to doing them in another way, right? So since I teach femininity, then I'm going to give you guys the lowdown on why, men seek out more feminine women. So there are three main reasons that men seek out feminine women. So the first reason has to do with being able to feel, right? So the masculine energy that men have, or masculine energy men, are more logical, right? And they live in their head. So they're always thinking about, their next accomplishment, or their next um, goal, or how they can achieve this or achieve that, right? Or how they can solve this problem or solve that problem, or come up with the solution for this situation or that situation. So they're very logical creatures, right? And this is masculine energy. So this is how masculine energy is, whether it's in a man or a woman. But particularly, this discussion is about masculine men. So if when you are around masculine men, you will see that they're always coming up with some type of solution, especially if you're in a pickle, or maybe something they're going on in their own lives. They're in fix it mode, they're in solution mode, right? And so that's pretty much how they live their lives. About 95% of the time is always in their head, always being logical, always coming up with solutions and thinking how they can solve a problem. So the main reason the main reason they seek out women, feminine women, is to be able to feel, to get out of their heads and get into their hearts, get into their emotions. Because left to their own devices, most men don't really feel anything throughout the day. Now, it's not that they're not human and they have no emotions or anything like that, but it's just that they stay in their brain so much that it really overshadows any feelings that they have. And so for them to feel anything, they seek out women. Now, this is a subconscious thing. Most men aren't thinking, oh, okay, let me, have a woman in my life so that I can feel, so I can feel something. Now, but this is a subconscious thing. This is one of the reasons they seek out a women. So feminine women we're in our heart, we're centered, we are in tune with our emotions. And so when a man finds a feminine woman, she's able to transfer um, the ability to feel over to him, right? Just by you being in your feminine energy, which is a feeling energy, you're able to be in your heart. You know how you feel. You're able to speak from your feelings. So, and by being connected to your emotions, by being connected to your heart, by being vulnerable, you make a safe place for a man to be able to get into feeling mode when he's around you, into feel things, feel happiness, feel joy, feel love, feel, um, even feel not so good emotions like sadness, or maybe if you're sad, then he'll feel sad, right? Um, if you're disappointed, he'll feel disappointed, things like that. So you really, by being connected to your heart, being connected to your emotions, being connected to how you feel, and not being afraid to be vulnerable and express those emotions, especially in the presence of a man, allows him to feel safe and allows him to open up his heart and open up his self to the ability to feel, and it gets him out of his head. And when a man is around a woman who gets him out of his head, he is in a space where he can feel and he can fall in love, because a man cannot fall in love with a woman who keeps him in his head. And a lot of masculine women keep men in their head because masculine energy is just logical. And so if you're a logical, very very logical female or woman, um you're connecting with the man the way he would connect with other men, right? And so he doesn't get to feel anything really around you. He may be attracted to you, he may think you're physically attractive, he may even enjoy your personality and being around you, but he won't really feel that connection, right? He won't feel the connection where his heart is involved. And so since he won't feel that connection, it's going to make him really um, hard for him to fall in love and feel connected, and for you guys to build that intimacy, that polarity, and that chemistry between masculine and feminine energies. So in order to effectively build that connection, you have to get him out of his head and you have to get him into his heart. And the only way you can get him into his heart is by you being in your heart and you being vulnerable. So I say men lead in every aspect except the emotion and the vulnerability aspect. As a woman, you have to take the lead. You have to be vulnerable first. So when you are vulnerable first with the man, you make him feel safe to be vulnerable back. A lot of men and women have relationships or situationships or whatever they may be, where they're attracted to each other and they quote unquote catch feelings for each other. But that's about as deep as it goes. It's a very shallow, millennial, new generation type connection. And that's why a lot of these things, you talk to people, you catch feelings, you maybe engage in some type of sexual activity, and then it fizzles out because there was no heart connection made, right? There was no heart connection made. There was a lot of chemicals, maybe from sex and maybe from physical attraction or liking the person's personality, that caused you guys to quote unquote catch feelings, right? But for him, especially, beyond the lust of you, or, hey, she's a cool person, there's not really anything that's sustaining it to make him want to commit or stick around or anything like that, because you're not getting him out of his head and into his heart. You're probably most likely keeping him in his head or keeping him in lust or something like that. So that is the first reason. Reason number one is to feel. Otherwise, the masculine energy is a very emotionally dead energy. It's not that he doesn't have emotions. It's not that he's not human, because all humans have emotions, but it's that he doesn't know how to access them on his own without a woman, unless he has like a tragic event or something like that happen to him. Like someone close to him dies, or maybe he has a super great event that happens to him. Then he probably feels something as well, like, oh, he got a promotion that he was going after, something like that. Then he'll feel this sense of accomplishment, but it still won't be that heart-centered feeling of like, I feel happy, I feel joyful, I feel excited, I feel alive, right? Like, men don't really feel those emotions. They kind of have this numbness um, without a feminine woman in their lives. Okay, so that's reason number one, to feel. Reason number two is to connect, which is kind of like reason number two. But as humans, we are programmed and engineered and built to connect to other humans, especially in the romantic sense. So, whatever your sexual orientation may be, you are wired to seek validation and love and connection with other humans, especially in the romantic way, right? So, um, without, for if he's a straight man, obviously he's seeking out another straight woman, right? So, um, there's this connection built when these opposite energies come together. The masculine energy, the masculine man comes together with the feminine woman. There's this chemistry. The law of polarity is um, takes effect, and there's what people call, oh, we just have this chemistry. There's just this magnetic pull from me to him, and you just feel like, butterflies and all these type of things, and he feels it as well. So he feels connected, right? Otherwise, if you don't feel connected to someone, especially in the romantic sense, over a prolonged period of time, you'll find yourself getting depressed, having deep anxiety, um, feeling very lonely, which is probably the top symptom, and just feeling like there's not a good reason to be alive, kind of like, just very, very deeply depressed. Because as humans, we're built for that type of connection. So as a man, if he's masculine, he's going to seek out a connection with a feminine woman. So what is connection? Connection is intimacy, it's vulnerability, it's chemistry, it's a bond, it's companionship, right? It's all those things wrapped into what you share with another human. If it's a romantic relationship, there's sexual chemistry, there's all those type of things, right? And so that is what he seeks out in a feminine woman, right? That ability to connect with another individual, right? In the human form, and connect with your spirit and fall in love with all the things that are great about you, right? And so when you're in your feminine energy, you make it easier for a man to connect with you because he sees all of the beauty of being connected to you, right? Because when you're in your feminine energy, you're open, right? You don't have walls up, which makes it easier to connect with someone and to have intimacy with that person, right? You can't have intimacy with someone if you have walls up, if you're afraid to be vulnerable, if you're trying to quote unquote protect your heart, right? Or you have one of those like, well, I don't trust men, I don't trust people, so I always have to keep um, my walls up, keep defense mechanism up, and those type of things, right? You can't build true intimacy with someone if you are afraid that someone's going to break your heart, or someone's trying to get over on you, or someone's going to betray you, right? And so when you're in that type of mode, you're more than likely not in your feminine energy, because when you're a feminine woman, you don't worry about someone breaking your heart, or someone trying to get over on you, or someone running game on you, and all those type of things. You don't worry about trusting anyone, trusting men, and all this other type of stuff. The only thing you're concerned about is, how do I feel? How does he make me feel? How does this situation make me feel? So in essence, the only person that you need to trust is yourself. You don't need to worry about trusting men or trusting anyone else for that matter. You need to trust yourself, and you need to be so in tune with yourself and your energy and how you're feeling that the minute that something feels off, you don't question it. You don't say, oh, well, maybe I'm overreacting, or maybe I should give him the benefit of the doubt, or maybe it's not really what I think, or all these excuses you try to tell yourself to make allowances for how you feel when something is off instead of just trusting your feelings, right? Because as women, I'm sure that you have had many experiences where you know you should have listened to your heart or your intuition and you decided not to, right? And then later you said, oh, I wish I should have listened to myself. Like I knew something was off. I had a feeling about yada, 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 like I just knew it. Like I just knew that this wasn't a right situation for me. I knew I should have did this. I knew I should have did that. Like something told me. A lot of times you'll have that feeling like something told me. So that something is your heart, your intuition, right? And as a woman, your intuition is very much connected. Intuition is a very feminine thing, right? And so that's why it's easier for women to be more connected to their intuition than men. Now, men also have intuition. Intuition is a very human thing. But women's, they say a woman's intuition, right? The saying, a woman is closer to her intuition, or it speaks louder to her than it does to a man, or she's able to hear it and understand it better than a man can because she is the feminine energy and intuition is feminine, because intuition is about expression and femininity is about expression as well. So in order for a man to connect with you, you have to be connected to yourself. You have to be connected to your heart. As I said in the first example, you have to be connected to your heart. You have to be connected to your emotions, right? So you have to know, like, for example, let me give you guys an example. So, say that, you've been dating this guy for, I don't know, let's say 6 weeks, right? And you guys have had pretty consistent dates, pretty consistent communication. Now, for some reason, this week, he has dropped off. His communication has dropped off. You haven't heard from him in, let's say, 3 days, right? Now, there are a couple ways, maybe there's a few ways, I should say, you can handle the situation. You can get in masculine energy. Hello. You can get in masculine energy and maybe send some masculine text, maybe curse him out, maybe accuse him of some things. I want to say right now that's not an effective way to handle something with a man, is to get accusatory or, curse them out. Well, cursing anyone out really is an effective way to handle any type of situation, but that aggressive energy behind it is not taken well by masculine men because it's aggression and aggression is masculine. So for you to come at him in masculine, aggressive energy, it automatically puts him in this place of feeling like, I need to stay lean back from her because, a lot of times I'm like, okay, she's tripping, right? And you'll hear like men say that a lot. And what that means is a lot of times when the men say you're tripping or you're acting crazy, it means you're in some type of masculine energy. And so a lot of times men don't, like, they're not going to be like, okay, she's in masculine or she's scaring me or something like that. Just be like, okay, she's acting crazy, right? So that'll make him want to lean forward from you even more. And then depending on why you haven't heard from him. Have you not heard from him because he's just busy, he has something going on and has absolutely nothing to do with you? Or have you not heard from him because he's trying to figure out if you're someone he wants in his life? Maybe something happened between you guys that he feels like, I don't know if she's right fit for my life. So let me take a couple of days to really think about it. Or maybe, and this also happens, is that sometimes he really likes you. And like I said, men are not comfortable with their emotions and they're not able to express themselves a lot of the times, or really comfortable with feeling intense emotions, especially if it's foreign to them. Like they haven't been in love too many times in their life or really liked a woman or something like that, and it's a very foreign emotion to them, then it'll probably quote unquote be scary. So what they'll do is they'll back away from you. And it's not like they don't want you, they don't like you. It's just like, oh wow, this is like a different emotion, or it's overwhelming is a good word. It's overwhelming because as women, when we feel love and stuff like that, we want to grow closer or draw closer to a man and spend more time with them and things like that. But a lot of times, especially in the beginning when it's first happening to them, when they're falling for you, that's not their response. They want to get away because it's threatening their masculinity to feel such emotions, because the masculine energy is not an emotion energy. So their masculine energy is kind of dwindling a little bit. So they just subconsciously withdraw from you because they need to regroup, and they'll come back um, if they're if you know if they withdrew because they liked you or they're falling for you. If that's the reason, then they'll come back, right? So when it comes to, in this situation, there's this example. So you haven't heard from him in 3 days, right? So if you're a feminine woman, you can say, okay, this doesn't feel good that I haven't heard from him in 3 days. Like, and you can process those emotions and say, well, I feel, I don't know, uncomfortable, or I feel rejected, or I feel um, upset, whatever you're feeling, because you haven't heard from him in 3 days, right? So what you need to do is you need to make this about you, right? Because it's really not about him, right? Whatever you're feeling is really what you're feeling. It's not about him. So what you need to do is you need to process what you're feeling and make it about you. Like I said, I feel this. And then you need to figure out a way to make yourself feel better, right? So, for example, if you're feeling rejected because you haven't heard from him, um, oh, you're so sweet, Emily. Um, if you're feeling rejected, right, because you haven't heard from him 3 days, maybe you feel like, oh, maybe he doesn't like me anymore, he's not interested. So, naturally, the feeling of rejection takes place, right? So, rejection is really behind rejection. There's this fear. There's this feeling of fear. So I feel afraid, right? So I feel afraid that he's losing interest. I feel afraid that um, he doesn't like me anymore, things like that. So if you feel those emotions, then you need to say, well, why do I feel that way? Because really the action of him not calling you for 3 days, it could be many reasons. It doesn't necessarily mean that he doesn't like you anymore. Like I said, I gave you guys, I believe, 4 reasons why he could be withdrawing. So it doesn't necessarily mean that because he's withdrawing, he's not interested, or he's with someone else, or anything that your fears may be telling you in your head. So what you have to do is say, okay, well, he decided to take space for himself, which he has that right to do. So what can I do to make myself feel better? Right. And so you go do that. So like a good thing to do is, like, when you're feeling crappy, and especially when it has to do with men, a good thing to do is take yourself out on a date or spend time with friends or something like that, right? Or just go do something that's good for yourself, like get a massage or go shopping if you have the money, or something like that that's going to make you feel better and help you to realize that your self-worth or your self-esteem or your self-confidence or whatever it is not wrapped up in that man. And then even more so when he does come back, if he's just left because he needed time to regroup and recharge his masculine energy, when he comes back, you won't have that desperate needy energy, or you won't have that angry, upset, fearful energy. like where you go off on him, like, oh my God, you were gone for 3 days, and oh my God, like, and cursing him out and getting angry and things like that. And then he's going to be confused because he's just like, well, do we have to be tied at the hip? And then especially if you guys haven't made an exclusive arrangement, he's just really going to feel like, we're not even exclusive. Like, I don't understand why she's so upset. You know what I'm saying? Even though you have witnessed a pattern. Like I said, he's been consistent. You guys have gone on dates consistently. So you're used to a pattern. So when that pattern is interrupted, especially as a woman, you're going to feel like something is wrong. Like he's not into me anymore, or he's into another woman, or, something like that in those two arenas. So like I stated, it doesn't necessarily mean that. It could mean that. And if that's the case, then that's just the case. And there's, like the saying goes, it's cliche, but there are other fishes in the sea. But a lot of times it's not the case. It's just that he did really like you and he needed to take that time to regroup, or maybe you guys had a disagreement or something like that, and he just wanted to take some time. So if that's the case, when he comes back, right, then when you have realized that your emotions or how you feel are about you and really what you're feeling and your fears in the situation, and this is what I'm talking about, being vulnerable and being able to make that space for him to come and connect with you, because you have to do it with yourself first, right? You have to take accountability for how you feel, because honestly, what you feel has really nothing to do with him. It's a projection or interpretation of his actions. So you are interpreting his actions to mean something. Right. And it doesn't necessarily mean that, like I said, because you can think like, hey, I haven't heard from him. That means he doesn't like me. That means he's laid up with another woman. Yada, 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 yada. Those are fears. Doesn't mean they're true. He could literally be in the hospital. He could have got in a car accident. He could be swamped at work. There could be other reasons that have nothing to do with you of why you haven't heard from him, right? So that's why you have to make yourself feel better. You have to give yourself the attention and the connection that you're trying to get from him, right? And then that will hone down on the desperate, needy, clingy energy that drives men away, the fearful energy that drives men away, right? Because you're like, well, I don't know why he left, or why I haven't heard from him, I should say, but it's okay. It's okay. It doesn't say anything about me as a person, right? And then so when he comes back, if he's been gone for like 3-4 days, whatever. Now, I'm not saying that you have to let men in out of your life if they're inconsistent, but I would say, you know, um, just play the situation by ear and make it a case by case situation, because there's some situations like, if there's something you do all the time and he's gone a week, 2 weeks and things like that, I'm not saying that you have to make allowances and just let men come in and out of your life. I'm not saying that, but I am saying sometimes there's a reason if this is something he does all the time, right? Because we all need space to ourselves sometimes, so it could just really be that type of situation. And you don't want a man to feel like he can't take time away because you're too needy or you're too clingy. Let me close this. So you don't want him to feel like he can't take his time if he needs some time away, if he's going through some things, or he just really feels like, okay, I need to regroup, or he wants to spend time with his friends, things like that. Because men don't want to commit to women who make them feel like their freedom is on the line, right? Because a lot of reasons why men don't commit is because they feel like, I'm going to have to give up autonomy. And the masculine energy is the independent energy, right? So it has to feel like I can be free. He can't feel like if he decides that he wants to be in a relationship with you or commit to you or whatever, that he can't hang out with his friends if he wants to, or you're going to be calling him every 5-10 minutes trying to figure out where he is and things like that, and like really making him feel like a prisoner. So this is really a reason why a lot of men don't be in committed relationships and don't want to get married, because they want to hang on to their independence. And independence is a masculine thing. Dependence is a feminine thing, right? Like I stated, when women fall in love, we want to spend more and more time with our men. When men fall in love, initially they want to not spend so much time with you because they feel their independence is being threatened. They feel like, oh my God, I'm feeling too dependent on her. Like he thinks about you all the time and things like that. So it's a threat to his masculinity. So he takes some time away. And then once he's recharged like a battery, he'll come back. And more than likely when he comes back, he's even more into you and things like that. If you stay in feminine energy, now if you run him off and he comes back and if he comes back and you're in masculine energy, then he's going to be like, oh, whoa, okay, I don't know. Maybe I should go back over here, and then he may disappear again. And maybe eventually, if this is depending on the severity to him, he may just disappear altogether, right? So I say all this to say, for the number two reason that men seek out feminine women is to connect. And how a man connects to you is first you are connected to yourself, right? And you are accountable and you're responsible to yourself for how you feel. And you take ownership of it and you don't make it about him, right? You make it about you. Because whatever you're trying to make the situation about him, that is just your interpretation. That doesn't necessarily mean that's what's happening, right? You don't know why someone is doing anything. They only know why they're doing it. So when they come back, you can have a discussion with him and say, you know what, I felt sad or something like that, or I felt kind of disregarded because I have not heard from you in 3 days. Is there something going on? This is how you build connection and intimacy with a man, right? And then you didn't come at him crazy. You didn't talk to him crazy. You didn't come at him with aggressive, masculine, angry, bitter energy, right? You came at him with a feeling of, this is how I feel. I'm taking ownership of it. Because the words I used, you didn't say like, well, you've been gone for 3 days and you've been doing this. And see, when you say you don't want to say you, because you make him feel like he did something wrong. And he's going to feel like, well, I don't feel like I did anything wrong. And then that's where someone's ego flares up, because when you try and make people feel wrong and they don't feel like they did anything wrong, then that makes their ego flare up and then they get defensive. And when a person gets defensive, they don't hear anything you have to say and they shut down, especially men. They shut down when they feel like they need to defend themselves. And then you guys missed an opportunity to connect. Because at that point, once his ego flares up, he doesn't hear anything you have to say. He just literally tunes you out. Because he's like, I don't know what she's talking about. I didn't do nothing. I have the right to do what I want. I have the right to take time away. So at that point, he didn't hear what you have to say. And then you don't feel heard. And then there's still this friction. And if this continues, the relationship is going to deteriorate. So the way I said it is, I felt disregarded. We haven't spoken in a few days. Is there something going on? And then at that point, he more than likely will feel comfortable telling you why he didn't hit you up for 3 days or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said in the first one, you have to connect to yourself in order to make a man feel safe. Now he feels safe to open up. Before, he didn't feel safe. Like if you come at him with that masculine energy and aggression, he doesn't feel safe. His ego senses a threat. And when the ego senses it's being threatened, it puts up a defense. It puts up a wall, and everyone knows you can't get past the wall. So there's no building. So if you don't make him wrong, you bypass the ego of that person, you're able to build a connection and then he's able to explain himself, and however comfortable he feels explaining himself. Maybe he'll feel like, I don't really owe her an explanation like that, but he will more like at least apologize if he's a decent person. Now, if he completely disregards you and just be like, well, I don't owe you an explanation, or I don't want to talk about it, or just disregards your feelings, at that point, um, he more than likely doesn't care about your feelings. Or he doesn't really care about you like that just yet, or maybe he never will. Um, because a man who cares about a woman, if she expresses how she feels about a situation, he will at least apologize and try and give her some type of understanding or rectify the situation to the best of his comfortability and her comfortability, in that time. Because a man who likes you, is into you, wants to see you happy. So if a man doesn't care if you're unhappy, then that's a telltale sign that he does not care about you. So in that case, you would have to do, like I said, be your feelings and say, well, this doesn't feel good, then he doesn't care about me. He doesn't care about how I feel. And so you have to make a decision that's best for you if you want to continue to engage with a man who doesn't care about your feelings. So that's reason number 2, to connect. Now, reason number 3 is to upgrade. Beyonce, let me upgrade you. So a woman is a support system for a man, right? Now, I know everyone with a lot of feminist ideals may say something different, but men seek out women to support them, to support their dreams and their goals and whatever else they feel led to do in life. Right? It's not really the other way around. We don't really seek out a feminine woman, let me say that. Feminine woman doesn't seek out a man to support her in her dreams and her goals and things like that. Right? You seek out a man for security. Now, this could be emotional security, this could be financial security, but some type of security for adoration, right? As a feminine woman, you want a man to adore you. It feels good when a man adores you, things like that. That is why feminine women seek out men, not for him to support her goals or her careers or things like that, right? But men seek out women to support him in his endeavors, in his purpose that he feels, whatever his purpose is, his life goals, things like that. And so a feminine woman naturally upgrades a man because she is supportive of what he has going on. He may not be the best in his field or in his career just yet, but he has the right woman in his life. Her love, her respect, her masculine respect, especially if she's his wife, her submission, um, her taking care of him in ways that only a woman can take care of a man, things like that. Those things motivate a man to be his best self, right? You know the saying that behind every great man is a great woman, right? And this is so, so very true, right? It's not the saying that behind every great woman there's a great man, right? No, the saying is behind every great man there's a great woman. So what this means is that, like I stated, as a feminine woman, you elevate and upgrade a masculine man. This is why married men out earn single men by a lot. Married men are the top earners. They out earn single men because they have that regular feminine energy in their lives that motivates them to be their best selves and to accomplish and drive, and also that sense of responsibility. If he's a masculine man, he's going to feel, okay, I have a duty. I have to provide for my wife. I have to provide for my children if you guys have them. I have to take care of her, right? And so that's going to motivate him to be the the best that he can be. So that's going to motivate him to earn more money and to excel at his career, his business, or whatever he's doing, right? And so that sense of duty and responsibility that is ingrained in masculinity is going to cause him to upgrade him. Single men don't have that same motivation, right? So this is why married men out earn single men. Now, a lot of times when men um, have certain things going on with them, certain bad habits, things like that, or not necessarily bad habits, but things that are not so great about them. Like, say, for example, if let's say he's overweight, right? And he eats terrible, he eats unhealthy, right? So let's say that's his issue. Now, as his wife, you will upgrade him by cooking him healthy food, right? And then he'll be his best self, he'll lose weight, things like that. So these are ways that the feminine energy upgrades. Amen. So also, like I said, your respect, because respect to men is everything. And really, if a man doesn't have the respect of his woman, he feels like a failure. Even if he goes out into the world and his colleagues respect him, his work associates respect him, his friends respect him. But if his woman doesn't respect him, then he feels like an absolute failure, right? So his respect begins with the woman who's closest to him. So when he feels like, oh my God, she absolutely respects me, she thinks that I am so great, she lets me lead. Like I said, in the situation of husband and wife, and that's your husband, like she takes on a submissive role to me, those type of things, it will also motivate him to once again be his best self. Another way how your feminine energy upgrades him and causes him to want to do and be the best that he can, right? Now, some may say, well, there's a lot of single men who are rich and all this other type of stuff, and that's true. That's true. There are a lot of men who are single and maybe are players and all this other type of stuff who may appear to be the best self. But I want to say that an upgrade isn't necessarily monetarily, right? Because a lot of men who are single and may have material things and be successful as far as money is concerned are emotionally bankrupt. Like I stated in the first reason is that the mask energy is pretty much dead energy. So the mask energy can accomplish things and get things done and things like that, but it doesn't feel anything. So a lot of these men maybe, have success and things like that, but emotionally they're dead, right? They're dead, and this is probably why they're like seeking a lot of women, because they're trying to find that masculine that feminine energy. Now unluckily to them, they probably are encountering a lot of masculine energy women, and that's why they probably are continuing to play the field and not commit. Because when a man finds the right feminine energy woman for him, I don't care how much he swears up and down that relationships aren't his thing, or he's never going to get married, all this other type of stuff, he will. He will. you know. Um, but a lot of men continue to play the field because they never find that right feminine woman for them. They probably, encounter a lot of masculine women, and then they just give up or something like that, or just decide, okay, I'm just gonna like do me and I'm just gonna have sex, and that's it. And that happens too, and that goes into men feeling numb, because without the feminine energy, they just go numb and just like, okay, I'm not gonna feel anything. I'm just gonna work on being logical and succeed. And that's the case with a lot of men who may have it all together outwardly, but on the inside they're dead. And this is where a lot of emotionally unavailable men come into play. So for a man to have the best of both worlds, to be his most successful self outwardly and inwardly, he has to have a constant influx of feminine energy in his life to motivate him to be his best self. A feminine energy woman motivates men to be his best self. This is why I say quiet as is kept. Men need women a little bit more than we need them. I'm not saying we need each other. We definitely do. But men definitely need women just a little bit more than we need them. Because um, they're gonna, I mean, we will, a woman will be lacking something too if she doesn't have that masculine counterpart in her life. You know, you'll end up being independent, which I state independence is masculine. You'll end up being independent. You'll end up being masculine yourself. You'll feel like, okay, I can do everything myself. So you'll also have those downfalls as well. But I feel like as a woman, it's easier for you to get into your feminine energy and to connect with it, because even in those instances, you're able to connect with other things that are feminine, right? Like a lot of masculine women or women who are in their masculine energy, they still like enjoy things that are feminine, you know, connecting with their girlfriends, or like um, taking care of themselves, looking good, and things like that. So you're able in some ways to connect with your feminine energy, even if you are a more masculine woman. But as a masculine man, there's not very many acceptable ways that he can connect with his feminine energy, right? As a straight man. You see what I'm saying? Outside of having a woman in his life. So that's kind of why they need women a little bit more, and they seek and they need that feminine energy more. And as you've noticed, most men cannot be single. Women, you know, a lot of women like, oh, I haven't been in a relationship for long. And it's like a lot of women are like, oh, well, we were just together, we broke up, and then he's already seeing another woman, or he's already entertaining other women. Hey, Janet. Um, and so this has happened because they cannot, I won't say they cannot be single, but it's that they're always on the hunt for that feminine energy to balance their masculine energy, because the masculine energy is such a dead energy. So, and this is like what I said, a lot of instances with men who are quote unquote players. They're on this subconsciously, they're seeking out that feminine energy, even if they think they aren't. And they're seeking out that commitment to a feminine energy woman, even if they think they aren't. The problem is they just haven't found her, right? They just haven't found that feminine woman who is right for him. And so they continue to play the field. But these are the that three reasons that men seek out feminine women. So, if you learned something, if you like this video, if you want me to do more videos like this or more topics like this, then let me know in the comments. Join my Facebook group. I'm going to have the link in the description. And if you have not done so yet, make sure to grab my book, 21 Days Feminine Magnetism. You sign up for my email list, which you can do on my website, which I believe will also be in the comments. If it's not, then it's the same as the title of this web page, Wiped Up Coach. You can get the first 2 chapters of the book free to see what you're getting into before you dive into getting the book. So that's pretty much it. So yeah, like I said, like and subscribe and share the video. All right, ladies, have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye.